Hey, 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 what is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another amazing and impactful episode of the True Health Ever podcast, where we chill our best life through the lens of holistic health. What happened?
I maybe
You
missed
left
one.
me hanging. I was like, through the lens of holistic health. There you
It's a
go.
little rusty.
I'm Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and as usual, I have with me the curl-rific, the beautiful, the smiling, the health nerd herself. Please introduce yourself.
You just did. What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd, and yes, happy to be here on a Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the days blur. It is hot. I guess I usually talk about the weather. Sometimes it's hot. It's hot. That's all I got to say there.
It is hot, and I just got back from basketball, so my body is a little aching. I'm still standing though. I'm gonna get whatever residual steps I can get while in this podcast. Hey. But long story short, today we are getting into a topic we've already covered probably at least twice. Like, we've covered diabetes intro with this guest. We've covered how sugar impacts your body. Not with this guest, that was with you. And now we're going to kind of bring those two together. And this guest also has a product that they've been working on, and they're going to showcase that to the world as well. So if you don't know, one of my good friends, JT, he has a little brother by the name of JD. Hey, JT, JD. So he joined the team earlier this year as an intern, bringing in his talents as a amazing scholarly reader. First of all, the man reads like crazy, but also a researcher and a writer joining the team. And what I loved is he brought his own passion, his own experience of, I'm a diabetic and I want to help other diabetics. And we were like, okay, let's take this right from this, like the problem that you want to solve, the superpower or the experience that you have. How can we create a product that is authentically you and is helping other diabetics out there? And we think we accomplished that. Right?
Yep.
So without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, we're out.
I love it every time.
It is getting popping. JD, welcome to the party. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm good. That intro was very cute.
Hey, thank you. You know, we trying to improve every day, every week, brother JD.
I can tell. Oh, that was really good.
Yeah. All right. So before I let you do your intro, there's something that we were talking about prior that has nothing to do with this topic, but I just want to make sure I get it out. Podcast listeners, if you're listening, if you listen, if you're watching, let me know, if I'm allowed to eat and drink on this podcast. Right? Can I drink my harmless harvest?
Drinking is not an issue.
Okay.
But yes, what are your thoughts on eating during the podcast?
Right. What are the rules? And to be honest, I don't know if I'm 100% going to listen to you, but I do. I want to know your rules. Grandy, if you tell me, baby, don't you eat on that podcast, I will listen to Grandy. All right. But go ahead, put it in the comments. I know some people watching live right now. You watch on replay. Let us know. Are y'all good with us eating healthy, amazing fruits and vegetables? Chia pudding.
And maybe it's like, we don't mind. We just want to know what you're eating.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
What are you eating today?
Drop the comments. Today, I won't be eating it because I don't know what y'all are okay with, and the queen already said I shouldn't be eating, so I'm gonna wait for this vote to come in. But we got our patented. What was that, JD?
I vote no.
You vote no, so we got 2 no's. So I'm losing on the podcast, y'all. I need some support, right? So go ahead and give me your votes. But right now it was strawberries, some coconut shavings, and of course beautiful chia pudding with what I believe to be pecans or walnuts.
Pecans.
Beautiful.
Good guess.
But to the guest at hand, JD, if you don't mind doing your own little personal journey on the characteristics or the pieces of your experience that you care for people to know, and then we definitely want to get into why you created D3M.
So yeah, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 8, and it was actually in the month of October, so right before Halloween. So that was not the most splendid holiday. being in third grade. But ever since then, so originally I had to take a lot of shots, like manual shots. It's a lot for an 8-year-old, but
Yeah.
technology has improved. I now have an insulin pump, so life has gotten easier. But so basically, I always had to take good care of my health, and there's been many scares, many hiccups. A lot of it just learning from what works for you, what works for me, and that's why I created D3M. That's honestly the answer right there, is because I want to help people, I guess, someone not make my mistakes and just live a good, healthy lifestyle, complete with longevity, so you can complete your other goals that are not health and fitness related. And I think fitness does that.
Love it, love it. And for those that don't know, because this is, if you're listening, this is the debut of the D3M kind of product line and brand in itself. So can you break down what D3M stands for and what that acronym means, like what you want that to carry over to other people as they support the brand, as they tell other people about the products that are coming out? What message do you want? So you go ahead and break down D3M.
Yeah, for sure. Well, D3M is diabetes doesn't define me. So there's 3 Ds and there's 1 M. And what I really want people to carry out with this. So my mission is to not make you really healthy and active and fit for the sake of being healthy, active, and fit. It's so you can pursue other life goals you have. And I think that is really the point of diabetes doesn't define me. So I may focus on my health more so than other people, but that's not who I am as a person. That's not my characteristics. It's not my interests per se. I mean, some people might like eating healthy and working out, like myself, but that doesn't mean I want to do that as a career. Like, so that is the main purpose. And I think another purpose is that I want it to be a community of people. So it'd be kind of cool to have diabetes doesn't define us at some point. But I think just a bunch of similar-minded people pursuing the good through career, through family, through friends, and I think it can all start with just working on you in your fitness journey.
I like what you said about like rather than being healthy for healthy's sake, but it helps you go out and pursue whatever you want to do in your life. Like that kind of reinforces what we've talked about before, where health really is like the foundation for everything else that you want to do. If you don't have that good health, it's hard to accomplish what you want to accomplish in life. So I think that that's a really good, a way of looking at it, of like, hey, you need to be healthy so that you can go out and care for your family, pursue whatever career you want to pursue. Health is really like that prerequisite so that you can go out and make your splash into the world, or whatever that means to you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do and we're trying to do. So
yeah.
So before we kind of dive into what diabetes is and kind of like the science behind some of the products that might come out, you mind giving a high level overview of what folks can expect from D3M? And you already talked about like you want to grow it into a community, but I know we've been working on a very specific solution and kind of a support system for our folks. Do you mind breaking down just what we're going to start offering in the near future, and then we can go to breaking down the science on why we're offering those particular things?
Yeah, so first and foremost, since I put a lot of emphasis on community, we're going to have a Facebook group for D3M, and that's going to be so you guys can answer questions. I mean, ask questions, and hopefully we can answer them. And anytime we'll answer a question, we will provide a link to the study that we're referencing. Like, this is not going to be my opinion. Every answer we will give will be scientific based. But so what we are offering, in addition to a community, is workout plans. So we have 3 workout plans that are tailor made for diabetics. And you might ask the question of, what does a diabetic have to work out more so or instead of a normal non-diabetic person? And I guess buy it and you'll see. But we have 3 now. We have one that is made for people who are not completely in shape, to possibly people with type 2 diabetes, people who maybe just got type 2 diabetes and are going to start their journey to try to reverse it. And so it's really a beginner program. And then we have one that is for more advanced, but it is at home. So yeah, the beginning and the at home and the advanced at home are for people who they don't have time to go to the gym, perhaps, or maybe because of COVID. Being a diabetic, COVID isn't very friendly at the moment, but people able to do what they can health and fitness related at home. And then the one I'm most familiar with, because I've actually done the workouts, is the ones you do at the gym, and that's the weightlifting. And that's the one I recommend most type 1 diabetics to join on. And we can get into the science of that a little later on. And then what we also offer is a recipe book. So one thing diabetics struggle with is definitely the food choices that we are sometimes limited to eat. That's not always, but we can't eat junk food every meal of the day. We might be able to reward ourselves, but most of the time we get to eat pretty bland food, not a lot of sugar. Yeah,
Listen, you can have some delicious food without sugar, right?
You can.
Come on, JD. We're gonna get you in the kitchen.
well, yeah. Well, that's why we have a recipe book. I guess now we do, because we have a recipe book. But before this recipe book, no, we did not have many fun foods.
There we go. I'll take that. So before we dive into the other aspects and the scientific aspects, Sinclair, can you give our health a disclaimer?
Let's give the disclaimer, right? We are just going through our experiences in our health journey, all three of us. So everything that we say is, again, based on our journey. Yes, we do our research. Everything that we provide to you is, like JD said, scientific based. But we are not experts. We are not doctors or medical experts. So please definitely go consult with any, medical professional before you, try any of these products or take any of the advice that we give you here.
Ding! Beautiful. So now that we covered that disclaimer, and thank you for the community for making sure that we do protect ourselves and saying that, let's go into the first graphic by showing how sugar and carbs are metabolized in the body. So if we can pull that up and just give y'all a visual, and then for those that are just listening in, we'll talk through it nice and slow and give you the play-by-play on how sugar is impacting your body.
Oh, body by day? Is that what that was?
Sure.
We're gonna say, because that was good. Your body by day. Good.
Come on. Hey, all on accident. Let's go. Go ahead, Elfner. Hit it.
All right. So real quick, before we kind of dive into a little bit more of why we created this product and some more science, I wanted to kind of give a very high level overview of how sugar, and I put / carbs, because in terms of your body, when you eat carbs, anything with carbs, it breaks it down into glucose. So sometimes when we say sugar, we think like white table sugar and that's it. But there are other things that metabolize into glucose from your body. So that's breads, your pastas, your rice, all that stuff. So when you consume your carbs, the sugar is broken down into glucose. That's kind of like the base. I think I don't know if I made this metaphor earlier, or the last time we talked about it. It's kind of like the Legos. Like when you take apart your big old castle or whatever, eventually you get down to like one Lego. So think of that as like a glucose molecule. So when you eat your carbs, your body breaks it down into a glucose molecules. Those glucose molecules then enter your bloodstream in the small intestine. After that, and this is in a healthy blood sugar response. We'll talk about where diabetes comes into this process afterwards. But what is supposed to happen is that once the glucose enters your bloodstream, that kind of triggers your pancreas to release insulin. Insulin is a hormone, and insulin's job is to take the glucose molecules and bring it to your cells, because that's how it actually utilizes it for energy. And then your cell uses some of the glucose immediately. If you have a lot of things going on in your body at any given point. So it will use some of it immediately. But once you're done, especially if you're just sitting on the couch, it's only going to be able to utilize so much, and then it's going to store the rest. And for a lot of folks, it does get stored as fat. Now, when we're talking about, again, this is like a healthy blood sugar response. When we're talking about diabetes, step 3 here, when you have type 1 diabetes, step 3 is where the issues kind of arise, is that once the glucose goes into your bloodstream, the pancreas is not as sufficient, or sometimes does not release the insulin to then go gather all of the glucose in your blood. So then you're left with glucose in your blood, and that's how you get high blood sugar. And then if you have type 2 diabetes, step 4 is kind of where the struggle starts to happen. That's when your body is able to produce the insulin, but the insulin is not quite very good at think of it like it's like trying to juggle all of these things. It's not very good at actually grabbing the glucose and bringing it to the cells. So that's, again, an overview of like the healthy blood sugar response, and then what happens when, or what causes diabetes between type 1 and type 2. There are other types, but those are kind of the most common.
There are so many other types. It's crazy how many types there were. I think growing up, I only thought there was one or two, but then doing this project and doing research with JD, there's like 5, 6, 7, type 6, type 9.
Yeah,
it's like,
that was new to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until we started doing this project.
So after kind of going through how sugar impacts the body, JD, do you have anything that you want to kind of sprinkle on that or add from your own experience as well?
Well, everything Sinclair said was correct. That is exactly what happens. I will say, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I was diagnosed actually during the honeymoon stage, it's called, which means that your pancreas is still somewhat working, but it is deteriorating. And so for the first, I want to say 6 months, probably, I only had to take maybe one shot a day. And then when I fully got full on type 1 diabetes, probably 6 months to a year later, it became 5 to 10. So I got lucky in that regard, in the sense. Most people who find out they have diabetes, they have to go to the ER.
Yeah.
They were shaking, like almost like they had seizures nonstop for it, and the doctors can't figure out why, and they're there for a couple of weeks. I had some of my friends who had diabetes. That was what they experienced. When I was diagnosed, JT and I, we had to get a checkup for like sporting event or school or whatever it was, and they tested his blood sugar, and it was fine. And then they asked my mom, saying, "Well, since we're doing it for him, do you want to just do it for the little guy there, the little cute guy?" And my mom said, yeah, sure, why not? And they saw that it was really high, so really we found out for me accidentally.
So I remember
To my mom.
Shout out to moms, right?
Right.
Worldwide. Oh, always hold it down.
Right.
So I remember talking to, and you were saying, and I may get the acronym wrong, but your A1C at one point was a certain score, and now after your own lifestyle, it's now another score. So do you mind kind of talking about what your A1C used to be and what it is today, and what that difference represents?
Yeah, well, A1C, you can view it as a blood sugar GPA. So if you are a 6.0 or under, it means you're non-diabetic. It means your blood sugar is not fluctuating like this. It's more, within the realm of a non-diabetic. You have a pancreas that works. So if you go above 6.0, then that's when doctors start to say, okay, you probably have diabetes. But of course, if it's near a 7, then you definitely have diabetes. So at the very beginning, not the very beginning. I'll say the very beginning of me no longer being during the honeymoon stage. At first it was like 6.6, 6.7. So, which is for diabetics is considered good, but not great. But a lot of it's subjective according to which doctor you go to. But for me, if non-diabetics are 6.0, then that's my goal. But I've gone as high as 6.9. But then when I really started to focus on weight training, which was about 8th grade, I brought it down to below 6.5. I think it was 6.3 or 4. And ever since then, the last time I got it checked, I was 6.3. So weight training really has just my blood sugar at a almost unhealthy but not fully diabetic person. So
that is a perfect transition, unless the queen has something she wants to sprinkle on.
I just wanted to sprinkle on one thing, because I actually didn't know what the A1C was. And preparing for this podcast is when I looked it up. So I just wanted to give a very high level overview of what it is. He did say it was like a blood sugar GPA, which is absolutely true. So basically, and I guess where my confusion was is like, what's the difference between that and your blood sugar level? Because those are two different measurements. And so what I researched is that the A1C, or when there's glucose left in your blood, those glucose molecules attach themselves to your hemoglobin, which is the protein in your red blood cells. And the A1C is what is measuring the hemoglobin, the cells that have glucose attached, basically. The red blood cells that have glucose attached, and it's measuring that. So if you have more red blood cells in your body with glucose attached to it, that means there's generally more left in your bloodstream. And it's like a good measurement for folks for the doctor to see, because you recirculate your blood every month or so, or something like that.
Don't look at me. I have no idea how.
Your blood recirculates after some time, but if it's still in your system, measuring your A1C is a good measurement for your doctor to see over the past couple of weeks, how has your blood sugar been.
Gotcha.
So it's like almost like an indirect method of measuring your blood sugar, but it still is kind of an accurate picture of how much glucose is remaining in your blood.
Gotcha.
I did not know that. That science is pretty cool.
Science is though.
You know, I was thinking recently of the insulin I take is grown in a lab, and like we actually really learned what I was always told when I was a kid, like, oh, when you eat sugar, your blood sugar gets high, insulin carries it down. But like actually learning that some people in labs created insulin that carries sugar cells to cells, like that's pretty cool. Good
Right.
job.
All right.
Good job, science. 10 points to Gryffindor.
Yeah.
So earlier you were talking about how exercise has helped your A1C levels. So zoom in on that. Why do you think, or why do you know that is happening within your body? What is exercise doing for a diabetic specifically, but for people in general that is beneficial for you?
Mhm. Well, I was actually reading about this recently because there's a new study that came out. I forget by who. It was, I think, 3 weeks ago. But it suggested that muscle mass creates like, the more muscle mass you have, the greater your insulin sensitivity will be, which means that your body responds more efficiently to insulin, which means it requires.
Hold on. Rewind that just in case. I want to make sure people get that small but I think very impactful statement. Can you say it one more time, JD?
Muscle mass. The more muscle mass you have, the more insulin sensitive you will be. Insulin sensitivity is how sensitive you are to insulin, which means that your pancreas has to do less work, or the insulin, it requires less. It's more efficient process of bringing the glucose into the cells.
You want to be insulin sensitive, right, rather than being insulin resistant, which means your insulin's like, okay, cool, I'm chilling.
I'm here. All right. What's happening? So just to clarify, it's more muscle. It doesn't mean you need to go out there and be Arnold Schwarzenegger and get all the muscles so you're so sensitive. You don't need.
I didn't know you were Austrian. That's pretty cool.
Hey, thank you. I know it's 0.02%. Shout out to our listeners out in Austria. But it's really just how can you increase your muscle mass to help your pancreas that much more. So again, we're not saying everyone needs to go out and be a bodybuilder, but if you know that you can increase your muscle mass and that will help you with insulin, help you either resist or live a better quality of life with your diabetes, then start doing a little bit more training. We'll talk about that later as well. Queen.
Yeah.
I know you've been doing a lot of research. You may have some specific examples. Oh, she's excited. So I want to quickly apologize for the black hole that we are about to enter.
No, see, that's why when I have my notes, I don't go into the black holes. Yeah. Hopefully. See.
Go ahead, hit it, Queen.
But yeah, I wanted to make sure because I think anecdotal what's the word I'm looking for? Examples, experience. Thank you. I think is the most powerful thing to receive from another person. But it's always nice to get, like we said, and as we just talked about, you want to be insulin sensitive. And that's not, they did this study on non-diabetic individuals as well as diabetic individuals. And so really it's just saying that exercise helps improve insulin sensitivity amongst all folks, which I think is a really key piece. So there, even in doing my research, there is a little bit of nuance in terms of which study may be the best, type of exercise may be the best. But I think the basis of the statement is that all movement, all exercise is going to increase your insulin sensitivity. Some may do it a little bit more than others. We'll get to that in a second. But at the end of the day, you want to get moving because you want to make sure that your blood sugar response is efficient.
So Queen, yes. Really quickly, because you were saying some really good, very intelligent, melanated genius.
Okay, increased activity. So basically, this isn't a specific.
You said the journal name.
Oh, yes, the journal name is the Journal of Cardiology Clinic. And basically it stated that increased activity, so that means any type of more movement. Again, if you're a person who regularly sits on the couch, this could just mean walking around the block. Any type of increased activity improves your insulin sensitivity, which means your pancreas can release the insulin, and the insulin can efficiently grab the glucose and bring it to your cells in an efficient manner. And glycemic control. Glycemic control, we've talked about the glycemic index before, but that's basically when you're eating foods, depending on what the food is, it will spike your blood sugar in different amounts, basically. So like white bread spikes your blood sugar way more than really any fruit or vegetable, way more than cauliflower. Although they are both considered carbohydrates, right? In terms of how they metabolize in your body, they're both considered carbohydrates, but one of them is going to have a much different blood sugar response than the others. So glycemic control basically just means that you have a more steady glucose blood sugar response when you're eating carbohydrates. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
It does. JD. So we do have another graphic. I don't know if that's what you wanted to go towards, but we have one more graphic. If we can throw that up there, and hopefully we can make it a little bit more sense. Because to be honest, you were saying a lot of big words, a lot of little scientific for your boy over here.
Okay.
Break it down for us.
So basically, this is just a picture that shows all of the different a lot of different organs in your body and how exercise affects them, because all of these different organs affect your insulin sensitivity. So we have your pancreas. We already talked about that, how it makes your insulin levels go up, which is good because it allows your insulin to enter your bloodstream and actually grab the glucose. So that will increase your insulin sensitivity when you exercise. Your circulatory system, so this is just the blood actually moving in your system. It makes your blood glucose levels go down because it's grabbing the glucose and bringing it to your cells, so you have less left in your blood. And it makes sure, there's other things in there, but we'll move on to the liver. Your liver, when you exercise, it also increases your insulin sensitivity. Your muscles, we talked about increasing muscle mass. When you increase your muscle mass, your glucose uptake increases, as well as your insulin sensitivity. And then lastly, adipose tissue is basically just like fat. As you exercise, you lose fat, so your fat mass goes down, but your insulin sensitivity goes up. So as you can see, all of these different things when you exercise help your body increase your insulin sensitivity. So that's just kind of a summary, and even to talk about, to back up what JD was saying earlier about how when you exercise, especially when you exercise to increase your muscle mass, it can help even more to make you more insulin sensitive.
Got you. So my main takeaway that I'm getting is exercise is good.
That's it. That's really all we're trying to say.
Exercise is good, y'all.
Yep,
right?
That's what we discovered.
What was that, JD?
That's what we discovered. Yeah.
Yes, that's what we discovered in our years of research. Was
It might be one of the
exercise
first to
good.
discover such a thing, but
But there might be, and I believe there are, specific workouts, specific movements, specific exercises, or maybe even body parts that you should be focusing on as a diabetic to get the most impact from our research and studies. So I'm gonna pass it over to JD. I know you have a few examples, and then you can ping pong it back over to the Queen. But for the folks listening who are trying to either prevent themselves from getting diabetes, or they're currently living with type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, type all the way above, what type of workouts do you suggest that they do to increase their quality of life?
Of course, any type of exercise is beneficial, but I would suggest something that does require strength performance. So it doesn't have to be weightlifting. I do weightlifting simply because I like it, but something like rock climbing, where it does require an immense amount of muscle strength, and it will build muscle and everything. Doesn't mean your end goal has to be to completely build muscle, like you said earlier. And you don't have to be a bodybuilder, like you said, but something that will require muscle attention to a good degree. And what areas to work out most, that will be the lower body. And the reason is because diabetics, especially as we get older, we get less blood flow to our legs and feet. And so in order to really make sure we get good circulation, especially near like our toes, this is why for diabetics who don't take care of themselves, they often get poor circulation. And if the case is necessary, sometimes doctors have to amputate their foot because they don't get enough blood flow. So yeah, so it's really important to stretch, get as much blood flow in there as you can, and that is done through running, walking. If you like golfing, you're walking on hills nonstop. You like going on a bike, you like squatting. Really, anything works out your legs, but you need to put greater emphasis on this for long-term health.
And I think just to piggyback off of that, I have another study. This was a study that was from the Diabetology and Metabolic Syndrome Journal. And basically, I'm going to just say the summary of the study. Basically, they did 10 weeks of resistance exercises. And the results were that 10 weeks of resistance exercises were associated with a significantly better glycemic control in adults with type 2 diabetes compared to treadmill exercise. So, again, we want to drive home that any type of exercise is going to be beneficial. But if we do, want to, if there is the question of which type of exercise is going to be more beneficial, according to this study, it's going to be resistance training, and that can be weightlifting, right? That's resistance, but that could also mean if you have not done any type of resistance training or weight training in years, or if you are older, then a resistance band is a great way to just start building that resistance in your muscles without leading to injury or anything like that. So again, just to summarize, they did a 10-week study with individuals with type 2 diabetes. They had some do a treadmill exercise, which is more cardio heavy, and then they had some do a resistance training exercise. Within the 10 weeks of the resistance exercises, they were associated with a significantly higher glycemic control, which is what we talked about. That is the basically that your blood sugar stays more steady. And significantly better glycemic control in adults with type 2 diabetes as compared to a treadmill exercise. So again, if you are starting from ground zero, then getting up and taking a walk is a great place to start.
Boom.
If you're already semi healthy, maybe you already get some cardio in, then adding some resistance into your regimen, whatever the proper word is there.
No. Regime is like an army.
Okay, your regimen. Adding some resistance training is a really good idea to get even more, glycemic control into your system.
Boom. So what I do appreciate about what both of y'all are saying is you're not saying everybody do this one thing, right? Like we have the walking, we have the resistance bands, we have the weights, we have the general exercise. If you're listening to this, pick and choose maybe one or two things and try that out for yourselves. Consult your medical professional, consult your doctor, but try some of these things out for yourselves and see what type of impact and how you feel after adding a daily 5-minute walk, after adding a daily 5-minute resistance bands kind of circuit to your repertoire. Right?
Indeed.
So one more thing that we might have for you is just kind of general tips, right? General advice, tricks that you have to manage your blood sugar and in general, right?
Yeah.
So if we can pull up that graphic, and then I'll ping pong it back over to the queen and possibly JD to go over this.
Actually, before we even pull up the graphic, JD, I think I'm sure you have a lot of the tips, or at least one of the tips that are on this graphic, but from your, again, anecdotal experience, what are some tips that you have for folks experiencing diabetes on how they can just maintain more healthy blood sugar levels?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're unsure where your blood sugar is at the moment, be safe and check. Like, I mean, it's really very simple. Like, I mean, in order to prevent high blood sugar, if I check my blood sugar often enough during the day, I can probably prevent it from going too high. If I eat a lot of carbs or something and I have a feeling in a couple hours my blood sugar will increase, well, if I checked it in an hour, perhaps I can give myself more insulin if it's needed. So never be afraid to check your blood sugar, I guess, more often than you're used to. There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, a lot of people have the CGM, which is the device that tells you your blood sugar through your phone. I didn't like it because it got in the way for me too much. And I already have an insulin pump, so just two different things. But yeah, always err on the side of caution and really listen to your body. If you are developing the symptoms, like I always get headaches when my blood sugar is high. If I'm developing a headache, even if I am sick, and it could be because I am sick, well, check check your blood sugar. And what's the worst that will happen? The worst that happens is that you are able to identify possibly that what the problem is. Could be your sugar's low. Could be could be it's great. Just really, yeah. To me, that's the best tip. If you're not sure, just check.
Yeah, check often. Love it. All right, now if we could go ahead and pull up the graphic here, and we'll go through some other tips. And these are just tips in general for maintaining a healthy blood sugar balance. So this does not have to be if you have diabetes. These are tips that we follow on a daily basis. So these are just, again, 2 tips for maintaining a healthy blood sugar level. So number 1, we already talked about exercise. So we talked about how that can help.
Yes.
Oh yeah, all right. We talked about that, so I won't dive into that anymore. But eating plant-based or less refined carbs is also a good way. So it doesn't mean that you can never eat bread, or you can never eat pasta, or you can never eat rice. But there are smart choices you can make when you do want to consume those things. So in general, when we're talking about glycemic response, a whole grain version of whatever the carb is going to be is going to have a slower burning process in your body. So rather than having a sharp spike, it'll have more of a like smooth blood sugar response. And then, of course, these days, I mean, cauliflower is taking over the industry. So you can pretty much find a cauliflower replacement. If you do want to avoid the grains altogether or the refined carbs altogether, you can find cauliflower rice. You can find cauliflower pizza crust. You can find zucchini noodles. They make pasta out of chickpeas, edamame, beets. I mean, you name it. You can find it. So
and the taste is not in the carbs. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, if I replace it with my rice with cauliflower, it's going to not taste good anymore. False. If the other things that you're eating with it still taste delicious, it's still going to be a great meal.
Right. It doesn't mean you can't use a little bit of seasoning on it. You just
gotta
right. Lowry's. And then use natural low glycemic sweeteners. So I feel like when we say sugar, most people think, again, white table sugar, and that's the only type of sugar. There are a lot of alternative sweeteners that you can use these days. I always like to give the caution, if you've heard the sugar episode we did, stay away from the artificial sweeteners. Okay, the aspartame, the gluten, they all have very scientific names.
Dates.
Yes, stay away. Right, stay away from those, because those have been linked to Alzheimer's and memory loss and just a whole bunch of things that we don't want to deal with, on top of any other issues that you may be experiencing. So definitely go towards the more natural sweeteners. So we're talking the stevias, the dates are a good option. It's a whole fruit, so it's going to have, although it is still sugar, right, it's going to have a slow burning fuel rather than that spike. Monk fruit. That's another good one. Monk fruit has like no glycemic response when you so it basically.
Grandy, shout out to Grandy. She got herself some monk fruit. We see you doing your thing, Grandy. And I asked what was on her menu today. It was a really good menu. She had like some nice chicken on there. She had some spinach, some mangoes. I was like, okay. And then for dessert, she was having some other type of spinach. So, Grandy, we see you listening. We see you applying. Much love.
Nice. I honestly forgot what the last. The last on the graphic. The last one is just eating a diet full of lots of vegetables. I mean, fruits and vegetables are good, but again, just being mindful of your fruit consumption, because it is still sugar. But vegetables do the body good. You can never have, I don't say you can never have too many vegetables, but it's going to be very hard for you to have too many vegetables, because that's where a lot of it, they're nutrient dense, they're low in sugar, and they just, when eaten, is that correct way?
That is a word.
Okay. When eaten, I believe that's the correct way to say that. When eaten with carbohydrates, they help control, again, that glycemic response. So if you are going to eat some white rice, throw in some veggies in there, because it will help the body, balance that glycemic response, because you have some good carbohydrates along with the refined carbohydrates. So make sure that you add some vegetables in there. And yeah, I mean, just be smart overall. I feel like sometimes it's socially, when we go out to eat, we'll have like the the pasta with the breadsticks and there's not any vegetables on the table. That's a meal that's going to have your blood sugar like spiking all over the place because you've got the carbs from the typically white pasta, and then you've got the side of bread, and again, there's no vegetables there to help break up that glucose, all that glucose. So it's going to be kind of an overload for your body. So just be mindful if you're going to have, and again, this is not if you're diabetic, this is just period, right? To live a healthy lifestyle, just be mindful of what carbohydrates you're consuming, and maybe just be mindful that your whole plate is not, refined carbohydrates. Definitely want a good mixture of, fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, all those things.
Perfect. So JD, I know inside of the D3M product that you created, you put in not only like the health products, not only the recipes, not only the workouts, but there's a small piece in there where people can say like what their why is. They can put in their motivation. Can you talk about why that's important? Why starting this journey with the why, or with some type of motivation in mind, is important?
Well, I thought it was important to include because I personally do that with everything I do, really, when it comes to school, when it comes to my health. But the real reason is because you realize when you actually sit down and reflect on it that most of the time you're not doing certain things just for you. It might benefit you. Being healthy and fit certainly does benefit you, but it really has impact on people. It really has an impact on people in your life. Some people might say, "Well, he's doing it. I want to do it now too. I like what he's doing. He's working hard, and it's inspirational." I've actually had friends say that to me before, and it's like what we said in the very beginning, where if I'm healthier, then health is now something that does not stand in my way when I can try to pursue other things. And a lot of times, it's to try to, I guess, be a good role model. So for people who are a lot younger, the youth, you be a good role model, and I think that's a very noble task. And I think fitness, me being a diabetic, even more so on fitness, is just one way to be a good role model for your community, for your family, for your partners, for your parents, your children. I don't have any children, but for your children. If you guys have children out there, I know you guys don't. But I don't think so. Okay, well, let me know if it ever happens.
Oh, we didn't tell you about.
I thought you guys told me. Never mind. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, is when you write motivation, you realize you're doing it for other people as much as you. And at least me personally, I think most of us, we don't like letting other people down. It's not a good feeling. So I think when you write down goals and the benefits of other people, you think about them, and it makes it easier. The hard work you're doing now becomes easier because you know why you're doing it.
Yeah, what I love about the idea of role modeling is, unfortunately, I think folks feel like diabetes is 100% genetic. And I understand that there are some genetic dispositions. I understand that, based on your family, and specifically type 1, if your father had it, your mom had it, you could have a higher chance at it. But type 2 diabetes is mostly, and I'll lean on the queen here, is mostly based on what are you eating, what is your daily habits. So what I love about what you're saying as a role model is, if right now you have, type 2, even type 1, or any of the other types, and you want to make sure that your kids have a lower chance at getting type 2, if you're able to now start implementing some of these exercises, you're implementing the dietary habits that we're suggesting, now your kids are going to grow up seeing you as a role model, and they're going to be like, okay, I should eat fruits and vegetables, I should not have a whole bunch of sugar in my stuff, I should do daily exercises. And then their chances of getting diabetes when they're 20, when they're 30, and they're 40 now go down. So we're creating generational health within that. So highly encourage you. I love that piece. Find your why. If it's family, if it's you want to live to a certain time period, if it's you want to run a marathon, if it's whatever your why is, write that down. But definitely see how you can impact other people's lives with your actions, with your why too. Right. So I want to do something. I didn't talk to y'all about it, and I apologize, but I'm gonna make an executive decision live on the podcast.
Here we go.
If you're watching right now, or within the next 7 days, and you email info@truehealthforever.com, all right, we can have Jair put it up there. email info@truehealthforever.com, and we will give you a sample of the D3M products. All right, it's about 95% done right now, but I know I would like to get some live feedback from people to see how we might be able to make it better to get it to that 120%. So if you're watching live on the podcast, you can email us, or if the next 7 days, right? It's August 8th right now. Thank you, Jair. It's August 8th right now. By August 15th, go ahead and email us. Say, hey, I was listening to the podcast or I was watching on YouTube. I would like to get the D3M product, and we will give it to you in your email for free. All we ask that you give us honest feedback on how we can make it better. And if it's solid, if it's like, ooh, this is fire, this is impact. I love the recipes. I love the workouts. I love the motivation. Cool. Enough said. But if there's something else that you think we can sprinkle in that, definitely let us know. Y'all too good with that?
I'm good with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know, so little 7 days. I'm trying to get the list. I snuck that in for y'all listeners. You're welcome. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. Subscribe. You're welcome.
It sounds like even if I was not okay with that, I don't have a choice. But yeah, sure, it's fine.
Right.
Basically.
It's too late. It's already out there. But JD, we appreciate you coming on. It has been a great. Oh, we have one comment in here. Let me go ahead and look at it before. Let me have the queen look at it. Oh no, it was my man Jair. Appreciate you, Jair. You're too good for your own good, man. But appreciate you coming on and really helping to create this product. Love the work that you've been able to do as an intern through True Health Forever. I know you're about to go back to school, so I know the support might not be there throughout the academic year, but any breaks next summer, if you want to come back, anything like that, we would definitely love to have you.
For sure.
Queen, anything you want to sprinkle before we leave on diabetes?
Not really. I think just to emphasize what you said earlier on, unfortunately, the way that when someone is diagnosed with diabetes, they're not always given a lot of the information on what causes it or what they can do to prevent it, reverse it.
What they can do.
What they can do to help yourself, basically. So hopefully that's a little bit of what we can provide here. Again, it may not come from every doctor. Hopefully you have a doctor who is giving you this information. But if you don't, hopefully that this information was educational for you, so you can learn about your, what's happening inside your body and how you can, again, help yourself. So yeah, just we have more control, I think, than we're led to believe, and more impact on our own health than we're led to believe. So take control. Try some stuff out. Again, always consult, especially if you are actively dealing with diabetes. Consult with your doctor. Say, hey, I wanna try eating this way, or I want to try doing this. And just give it a try. And I think
I was gonna say, if you go to your doctor and be like, hey, I want to try eating more fruit and replacing sugar, and they say no, please come back and tell us.
Yeah.
That you should be weary.
Oh my gosh, please come back. That would make the queen go on a whole rampage. Yeah, my bad. Let me bring it back. JD, anything you want to sprinkle on it, or your parting words as the lead behind the D3M brand and community? Anything you want to say to the folks?
I'll say, yeah, buy it. That'll certainly help. Really help build a community, I think.
My man.
That's it. I think that's the most noble words I can end off with.
Excellent words, JD. So, thank y'all as usual for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast, where we shall live our best life through the lens of holistic health. I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
And I'm Sinclair, aka the
Health Nerd. We hope y'all stay healthy. We hope y'all stay mentally wealthy. And of course, we hope y'all stay true.